Hi, Dan here. Hope you're doing really well. I want to show you a few things that you can practice over this, namely timing, working on your internal clock, and some note choices. This is the third time I've recorded this lesson because I just found that I was rambling. I was just going on too much because there's so many things that you can do over this that I'm just going to try and condense it and give you a couple of things. First things first, it's 75 beats per minute, which is quite slow. There are only 4 chords, but we've got a kick drum doing a basic pattern here. So 75 beats per minute is roughly about this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm tapping my foot on 8. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 but in my head I'm thinking 16ths. Every single beat has 4 of those. So a bar of 4 has 16. That's why they're called 16th notes. And that's the first thing to do, is to really map that out and really be counting that all the time, to the point where it's automatic and it's completely natural. The kick drum goes da da da, so da ba ba. The first thing to do is to just play the root notes. We've got C minor 7, G minor 7, B flat major 7, F major 7. Just play the root notes, the C, the G, the B flat, and the F, absolutely on that kick drum pattern. You don't always have to stick to a kick drum pattern when you're making up a bass line, but just for now, just for a little something to practice, that would be a good thing to do. I'll jump in wherever that is on the backing track and show you. I rushed one of them, and that's the thing. You've got to be thinking bang, beat 1. I think one of the B flat, I think I got a little bit early there. But that's the first thing to do, is to get the beat 1 absolutely nailed. And the second is to get the da-da. Again, you're only going to get that if you've got this internal clock going with your subdivision of beats, in this case 16th notes. It's so slow that there's a tendency to anticipate and to rush the note. Do this every day, focus on this part of your playing, and it will get better. The clock, this internal clock that I'm talking about, that will become just more comfortable, as will things like knowing what note you're supposed to play next. You know, you need to know the chord progression inside out and not be wondering, oh, where am I going? And that will slip, that will trip you up as well. So that's the first thing to do, is get exactly as you can to that kick drum pattern. You can download that backing track below, by the way. I'll put a link to it. And then the next thing from the lesson that I want to show you is note selection, what notes to play. When I was practicing this, I found that the more notes I played, the worse it sounded, okay? But just in terms of practice, when you practice, make mistakes, overplay in order to see what fits. And then when you're crafting a good bass line, just take things away until you're left with something that sounds good. So I'm just going to show you a few ideas. Number 1 is just using roots, fifths, and octaves. So on the C, 3rd fret A string. That's our root. If you go 2 across and 1 string down, that's the 5th of the chord. If you go 2 across from the root and 2 strings down, you've got your just really simple root 5th octave. I'll play the backing track now, and I'll just do that. This time I'm going to maybe busy up the rhythms a little bit just to make it more interesting. But over each chord, I'm just going to use those roots, fifths, or octaves. Again, it's probably too much, but just to show you that these notes work, you can try that. I'm still going 16th notes, lots of syncopation, which syncopation just means where you're playing notes that aren't on the beat. And when you have this grid of the 16th notes, the subdivided 16th notes mapped out just in your head, you can just play whatever notes on that and it's going to sound good. You know, if you listen to James Jameson on Motown, a lot of his rhythms were 16th note rhythms. Same with Donald Duck Dunn. If you listen to those two players, you know, soul, old school Motown, that'll teach you everything you need to know about 16th notes and syncopated rhythms. And when I play bass lines, I often will call upon those influences. This is nothing to do with those styles, but you can certainly borrow from those influences for this. Now, this is where, when I've been recording this video before, I was just going off on one a little bit. So I'm just going to keep things really simple, give you one or two ideas further to this to work on. C minor 7, G minor 7, and B flat major 7, they all come from the same key. The overall key is G minor. Okay, so one thing I was doing I quite liked. Over the C, I'm just going to give you some notes that fit and show you a couple of things I was doing. So I was playing the C on the 8th fret. In this overall key of G natural minor, the C minor 7 is the 4 chord. This is just a general basic rule. I did a lesson on I Will Survive and the modes that go over that, and I'll put a link to that. But this is a similar thing. This is all about harmony. The 4 chord, you have a Dorian mode that works over that. So I've got fret 8 to 10, the C to the D on the E string, and then 6, 8, 10 on the A, 7, 8, 10 on the D and the G. Another pattern and scale that works foolproof over this all times over a minor chord, minor pentatonic scale. Probably know that shape. You can extend it just going 2 frets higher. And the blues scale. So. Let me just show you the first thing. So I was playing a root. And then a little pull off from frets 8 to 7 on the G string. Plucking the 8th fret of the D. Adding in some articulations, hammer-ons, pull-offs, ghost notes, that will bring your playing to life. So I'm doing a hammer-on from 8 to 10 on the A, followed by a pluck on the 8th fret of the D. Returning to the 10th on the A. I'm not really thinking about this when I'm playing it, I'm just explaining it to you now. And then we got the octave and the C. The same pattern actually would work on the G minor 7. Might be a bit too much to play though. Let's see if I can play that over this. See, if I were to make up a bass line, I wouldn't then do it on the G. It's too much. It would be too much. Here was another thing I was doing. If you know your notes of your scale, you can construct bass lines really easily. So we've got C, D, E flat are the first 3 notes of the mode that you can play over C minor 7 chord. And you can play that up the octave. Play the root, slide up for the 3rd note, and just go descend the scale. You can do that kind of idea on each of the chords. So again, to me, that sounds like a little bit too much, but this is practice. This is where you make mistakes and you overplay in order just to work out what works. And then I would just say, just take away, take away, take away until you're left with something simple. That's just the role of the bass guitar. And this is just subjectivity. This is creativity. I'm not telling you how to play. If you want to use all those notes and you feel that that's the right thing to do, then that's what you need to do. Okay. Whoever you listen to, however much you play and practice, that will all contribute to how you want to play. So these are just, choices that you can make. So I was just playing, going from the root to the fifth, and then playing the notes of the scale descending. Like I say, there's a million and one things you can do, but here's another good thing. I'm going to the 8th fret. So I want my root to be on the E string for all of the chords now. So I'm really keeping a blues sort of feel going now, and a blues vibe by just playing minor pentatonic. All the notes from the chord, from the very basic chord, the root, the third, the fifth, and the octave, they're in the minor pentatonic scale with the addition of a couple of other notes. It just sounds really good. So here's what I'm going. I'm going root note, and then I'm sliding to the fifth. So that's the 10th fret of the A string. Doing that with my third finger. And then I'm playing the 8th and the 8th and the 8th fret of the D and the G. Sounds like Jimi Hendrix. He used that scale all the time. So finally ending on the C. You can do that on the G. Same pattern. And then we'll do the major pentatonic on the major chords. So I'm going B flat. I'll show you the pattern here. So we're going fret 6, 8, and 10 on the E string, and then 8 and 10 on the A string. 5 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, major pentatonic. Up the octave, and then on the F, same pattern. So this time it will be frets 1, 3, and 5 on the E, and 3 and 5 on the A. These are basic scales, you need to know all of these. Minor and major pentatonic, they come up all the time. I'm going to practice now using that idea exclusively. See what that sounds like. Two things, or at least one thing. I was aware that when I was playing that, to make it sound less like an exercise and more like a bass line, I wanted to connect up chords a little bit better. So that's the C. I mean, there's a million and one ways that you can do this. So there I just slid to an F, which leads me nicely to the G. That was the first thing. The second thing was just to be mindful and aware that I'm still supposed to hit every single beat one and not rush, not get there too early or too late. That was that timing component of this lesson. So really, you've got two things. You've got the timing and rhythm element, which creates your timing and your groove and your feel. You know how important that is. It's incredibly important to work on that. But then you've got the note selection. What notes work to make this sound good? And if you think about it, I've also talked a little bit about positions on the neck to play certain patterns and shapes, and how that's really important. There's a really great pattern of the minor pentatonic that works here, so that's fretboard knowledge. I've also spoken to you a little bit about little technique ideas, slides. I didn't talk about bends, but you can add some of that in. So you've got techniques that bring some of these note choices to life, and at the end of the day, all of these things contribute to your creativity and to how you play. I'm going to do a lot more videos like this where I'll take a chord progression. I'm going to film a Motown one after this, actually. And just what you'll see if you subscribe, please do. If you subscribe, you'll notice that I'm going to talk about the same things. Doesn't matter what style of music I'm talking about. We've got triads, we've got a key, we've got chord tones, things like that. And if you're a bit confused by those terms, don't be, because it's just a handful of ideas. Learn them once and then you'll find that you're using them a lot. The more different styles of music you listen to, the more authentic you'll sound. So that's really, I'm going to be doing a lot more of that. And I'm going to leave this lesson here because it was getting too long before. I was just going on and on and on. Maybe I'll revisit this backing track if I have any other ideas. But like I say, you can download that, follow the link to that. If you do have any questions or anything like that, let me know below and I'll answer them. Other than that, do have a great day. Thanks for watching.